Today we're going to be learning how to factor quadratic expressions. Factoring is rewriting an expression as a product of factors. A monomial is a number that has only multiplication in it. So it can be 3, it can be 5xy, it can be 10 over 4y. Those are all examples of a monomial. A binomial is two monomials attached by addition or subtraction. See how that's 3 minus 5xy, and this is 2x plus y. Okay? Next, factoring. Factoring is the opposite of FOIL. So if you were to FOIL back in the day, you had x times 3x, which is 3x squared. That was your first terms multiplied together. Then you did your outer terms multiplied together. That was going to be x times 4, which gives you 4x. Then you had your inner terms multiplied together, which gives you 2 times 3, which is 6x. And then you had your last terms multiplied together, which gives you 2 times 8, or 2 times 4, which is 8. Then you combine like terms, and when you combine like terms, it's going to give you a 3x squared plus a 10x plus an 8. This is what I'm giving you today, and your goal is to actually work up to the given information of x plus 2 times 3x plus 4. That's what our goal is today. So, very first thing you need to understand is the GCF. The GCF is the largest number that each number is divisible by. The GCF cannot be larger than the smallest number. What do I mean? Well, what I want you to do is find the GCF between 16 and 24. The GCF cannot be larger than the smallest number. So the smallest number up here is indeed 16. So what are all the factors of 16? Well, I'm going to take you over here to Calculator Soup. Calculator Soup, literally, I'm just going to type in here, calculator. Okay, Calculator Soup is an online calculator, and you're going to put factors right here. And we want the factoring calculator. Okay, so I'm going to put in the numbers of 16. The numbers of 16 are as follows: 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. So I'm going to come over here and write those down. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Now, you're going to simply ask yourself, does 16 go into 24? The answer to that is no. Does 8 go into 24? The answer to that is yes. So therefore, the GCF is going to be simply the number 8. When you factor out a GCF, the operation that you're doing is actually division. Super important. I refer to this as my go fish. Okay? So what do I mean here? Okay. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. So let's go ahead and factor these. Now, factoring is the opposite of FOILing, which we already talked about. Irreducible is something that cannot be factored into two binomials. So we are going to first go ahead and do 3a squared plus 9. Well, the smallest number up there is a 3. So you're going to have factors of 3 are 1 and 3. Does 3 go into 9? The answer to that is yes. So we're going to pull out a 3 by division. 3a squared divided by 3 is just a squared. 9 divided by 3 is simply 3. This is as far as I can go. Okay? Now, over here, my smallest number up here is a 20. My factors of 20 are going to be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Does 20 go into 25? No. Does 10 go into 25? No. Does 5 go into 25? Yes. So I can pull out a 5. But we also need to consider that there are b's in both of these terms. So you always take the smallest variable, which is a 1. So if I pull a 5b out of 25b, what remains is 5b. If I pull a 5b out of 20b, what remains is going to be a 4. And that is us pulling out the GCF. Now, steps in factoring. Step 1, write the problem, look for a GCF, pull out the GCF, and this is done by division. Then factor what's left in two binomials, and if you can't, then you're going to write the word irreducible because you cannot factor any further. Okay? Now, we are going to use the AC method the entire time that we are actually factoring. Okay? The AC method is basically easier said than done. It's easier to do it rather than it is to explain it, honestly. So I'm going to erase this. And I'm going to highlight this down here because this is what we're wanting to talk about. And you probably learned this back in Algebra 1 by a previous teacher where they did the x, okay? The x is super important, Okay, the question to ask is, what are two factors of blank that add to blank? They are blank and blank. Steps, look for a negative sign out in front of A and factor it out if there is one. Then, the x that I have had down here at the very bottom, okay, you are going to multiply A and C together. So A goes on the left-hand side, C goes on the right-hand side, and the A times C goes at the top. And fill in the first blank. Write down your B value in the second. Well, your B value is going to come down here at the very bottom. Okay? Your goal is to find all the factors of AC, A times C, that whenever you add or subtract are going to give you B. Okay? And then you are simply going to write it out as a fraction and simplify it. So we're going to go right into it. This is extremely important for your brain to understand. The other thing I need your brain to get is this right here. AX squared plus BX plus C. This bottom number down here, which is a C, I have to figure out how I'm going to get a positive C. To get a positive C, you have to have plus plus or minus minus. You are going to add every time your signs are the same. So if I need to have a positive, I either need plus plus or minus minus. If my C is negative, the only way you can get a negative is if your signs are opposite, and that means you're going to subtract the numbers A times C to obtain B. And the larger number will get the middle sign. So here we go. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to, step one, check to see if I have a negative 1x squared. I do not, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my x. My A value is 1, my C value is 20. Then I'm going to go ahead and multiply A times C, which gives me 20, and that goes up top. And then I need this B value right here to go down here at the bottom. Okay, so you're going to immediately write two sets of parentheses. You're going to put x in each one of them along with a plus sign. Now, I want you to go over your calculator soup, and I want you to find all the factors of 20. That's 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Now, I have to have a positive 20. If I have to have a positive 20, that means my signs are either plus plus or minus minus. How do I determine that? Well, I'm going to simply look at the middle sign here. My middle sign is a plus, so therefore they both have to be positive. When my signs are the same, you are adding straight down. Which one of those factors will give me my middle number of 9? Well, that means I'm going to be using 4 and 5. So we're going to put a 4 here over and then a 5 over here, and we're going to write this as a fraction. Your A value, which is right here understood to be a 1, is what goes underneath of there. Okay? So what is 4 divided by 1? It is 4. What is 5 divided by 1? It is 5. So inner gives me a 4x, outer gives me a 5x to give me a 9x, and I am right. Okay? Next, do it again. We're going to look right here and look to see if that is a 1x squared. Since it is a 1x squared, I leave it alone. I go straight to my lovely little x. My A value is 1. My C value is negative 72. Then I'm going to multiply those together to give me negative 72 up top. If I have a negative, that means my signs are going to be one's positive and one is negative, which means I'm going to subtract. And I have to get the middle sign of 14, but I need a positive 14. So I have x plus and x plus. Now I need all the factors of 72. So if I come over here and find all the factors of 72, now remember, I said all the factors of 72, are we either adding or are we subtracting? Well, we said over here that we were going to subtract. So if we are going to subtract, that means which of these numbers will subtract to give you the 14? Well, you should be using 4 and 18. So if I'm using 18 and 4, I need to subtract down to give me 14. That means the 18 is positive and the 4 is negative. So I'm going to have 18 over 1. Why? Because that's my A value right here. And then I'm going to have negative 4 over 1. So this is x plus 18 and x minus 4. Okay? Do it again. Very first thing we're going to do is pull out the negative 1. Remember, whenever you pull out a negative 1, you're doing that by division. So what remains is going to be a positive x squared minus a 13x plus a 12. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is a positive 1. Positive 13 divided by negative 1 is negative 13. Negative 12 divided by negative 1 is positive 12. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go keeping the negative 1 there. We're going to go into x plus and x plus. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to write my x. I have, looking right here now, folks, looking right here. This is what the values are that we're going to use in our x. Okay, I have a 1 and a 12. Multiply 1 times 12 together, that gives me a 12, and I need to obtain a negative 13. Now I have to have a positive 12. That means my signs are either plus plus or minus minus. Because I need it to be negative, I have to use minus minus, and I have to add. So 12 and 1, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I'm going to use 12 over 1, and it's going to be negative. And I'm going to use negative 1 over 1, because I need to have a negative 13. So this is negative 1 parenthesis, x minus 12, and then x minus 1. Okay. Let's do this again. Leading coefficient must be, it is a negative 1, so I need to go fish and pull out a negative 1. So if I do that, I'm going to have an x squared plus an x minus a 20. So from there, I need to go ahead and do my x. I have, from here is where I'm looking. Yes, from here is where I'm looking. I have a 1 and a negative 20, and I need to have a negative 20 there, but I need a negative 1 here. As soon as I see that I have to have a negative value, I know my signs have to subtract, and that means one's going to be positive and one is going to be negative. So my factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which numbers will subtract to give you a 1? Well, that's going to be 4 and 5. That means my 4 is negative, my 5 is positive. So I'm going to go right here, x plus a 5 over 1 and x plus a negative 4 over 1 to give me x plus 5 times x minus 4. Okay. Next, I have a negative 4 there. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if negative 4 could be the GCF between 36 and 32. Meaning, is 36 divisible by 4? Yes. Is 32 divisible by 4? Yes. So we have a GCF of negative 4 that we are going to pull out here. Negative 4x squared divided by negative 4 is going to be x squared. Negative 36 divided by negative 4 is positive 9x. Negative 32 divided by 4 is going to be plus 8. Then I draw my x. From my parentheses, I am going to have a 1 here and an 8 here, and I'm multiplying them together to give me 8, and they have to equal a positive 9. Since I have a positive number here, my signs have got to either be plus plus or minus minus. How do I determine that? Look at the middle sign that you want, which is plus plus. Drop down the negative 4 and do x plus, and I need factors of 8, 1 and 8, 2 and 4, that are going to add to give me 9. So that gives me a 1 over 1 and an 8 over 1. So negative 4 parenthesis x plus 1 times x plus 8. Last example. My leading coefficient is a 2, so we need to again look for the GCF. Does 2 go into 18? Yes, it does. Does 2 go into 28? Yes, it does. So I'm going to pull out a 2, and I'm left with an x squared minus a 9x minus a 14. From there, I need to go ahead and have, this is where I'm looking, I need to have a 1 and a negative 14, which means I have to have opposite signs, which means I am subtracting. Factors of 14 are 1 and 14, 2 and 7. If I subtract them, I get 13 and 5. Am I ever going to get my negative 9 that I need to have? Because that's my b value. The answer to that is no, I can't. So that means this is as far as it goes, and that's irreducible from there. Okay. Tonight's homework is 4.4 worksheet 1.